host now, so that should be host. Change host to Vanessa. Has that prompted you, Vanessa, now to be the host?
Yeah, I'll just keep a wee eye to let other ones in.
Yeah, I think you'll be in control of letting people in and out of the room now. I think at the end, Vanessa, when it comes up, you can go up to like, you should see like recording and maybe the top corner of one of your screens.
Yeah,
I think if you just hit the top, if you hit the stop button, we'll stop the recording at the end of it.
Okay.
And that should be it. Susan and Lorraine on, so there should probably be a few more people coming live, but yeah, there'll be quite a few people that catch up on it on the recording as well.
That's fair enough. And it was such a nice night.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, you might.
We've a couple of kettlebell seminars in the gym and stuff, so I can see the gym being potentially busy this evening. Well, it is busy this evening from the booking, so I'd say there'll be a lot of people that catch up on it. Hi, Leanne.
Hi, Jordan. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Yep, all good.
Ready for some more education?
Yeah,
Always a school day.
it sure is.
Have you done the kettlebell swing seminar yet with us, Vanessa?
Yeah, I did it way back before the last lockdown.
Oh, okay.
So it's a long time. But yeah, I just didn't do them at home because I was doing the exercise on a tiled floor and I just knew I was this kettlebell down too hard and potentially crack a tire. So I just thought I'll play safe with just the.
Yeah, no, it makes sense to do that, definitely. It's a fast and explosive movement, so.
And especially when you're getting to the last one and you're just like going. Ugh.
Yeah. The fatigue starts to set in.
Mm-hmm. Although it's the room we use in the house, we've never got around to doing it up since we moved in about 9 years ago or 8 years ago. But it's been too useful, especially over lockdown, as an additional room for the kids to play in.
Yeah.
They kind of spill over. It was gym, stroke, everything really, art room, the whole work. So I'll nearly miss it when I actually decide to do it.
Yeah, a room like that there probably was of great advantage with having everybody at home just to kind of go in there and do the extra activities as such.
Yeah, I think as well, it's just to get headspace. It's just, it's not that we have a small house, but we all know because we're in lockdown together for so long, sometimes you just needed to get away from.
Yeah, absolutely. No, a room like that's definitely a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's a few minutes past 7 now, Vanessa. We can maybe leave it to get started if you're happy to get going.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I know. I think Kathy said she was going to join in. There's Alison now.
Yeah, there could be a few people that maybe just making their way on now. Hopefully, everybody can get access. But we sent the link out in an email and it's in the Facebook group as well. So hopefully everybody's seen it at some stage.
Yeah.
Hello, Jordan. Hello, Vanessa.
Hello, how are you?
Can you hear me? My internet keeps cutting off here, so I don't know if it's. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect, Susan.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, perfect.
Hi, Jackie. Hi, Nuala. Maybe 8 or 9 on now. Vanessa's good. Making their way on to it now.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Kathy.
Hello, Vanessa. Jordan.
Doing good, Kathy?
All the best, thank you.
Woman, great evening for us.
Oh, it's lovely.
You get the badminton racket out today?
No, not today, and I haven't had a game this good while, actually.
We must get a JSF badminton tournament going soon.
Oh, I'll whip your ass anytime.
That'd be a chance to get your own bag.
Wouldn't it be lovely?
The next JSF barbecue badminton. Everybody that's there, ladies, can everybody hear us? Okay, everybody that's on. I think we've 8 or 9 people on now, but is everybody's connection okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, well, I just make a wee start then.
Yep, no problem at all. I will leave the ladies to this conversation. This one's a wee bit outside my realm, so it is.
Although it's very important for you as men to know it. You don't bury your head in the sand, but it would be quite useful.
I can imagine it's gonna be really good to watch this one on playback and get all the information from it, because it definitely has an impact, which I'm getting more of an awareness and understanding about. So I look forward to seeing it.
Okay, that'll do. All right, ladies, can you all see my screen? I'm just admitting a few more people coming in. Have we got everybody in? I'll just make sure there's nobody else waiting. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining, especially in such a nice evening. There we go. Slideshow from the beginning. Okay, so a very topical topic. It's not sharing. I don't know why it's not sharing or share. Going into there's Tyrion. So I'm trying to get it into presentation mode.
What software is that, Vanessa? Is that just Microsoft PowerPoint?
Yeah, I was working, I had it up 2 seconds ago until I went out to let somebody back in, and it's now not.
Apologies for being late, folks.
No, you're perfect. You're here now. We haven't even started yet, so it's perfect.
I can't work Tierna's MacBook, you see.
The Apple, it's a different ball game compared to some of the other laptops.
And then my work has, you know, like Gmail and stuff all blocked off. So
Okay, I'm going to try it again. No, we might just have to go with this. I don't know why. What about down here, presentation mode? There we go.
Yes.
Happy days.
Got it.
Super duper. Okay, well, thank you very much, ladies, everybody joining me on such a nice sunny evening. So I suppose just for those who don't know me, my name is Vanessa McMinn, and I'm a registered dietitian with over 20 years experience working within the health service, but I also qualified as a sports dietitian in 2003. And although I'm talking to you tonight about diet and menopause, I don't by any stretch of the imagination call myself an expert in hormonal issues. I just know it from a diet perspective. So any real questions about HRT or other hormonal problems, I'll not be answering them tonight because I wouldn't be the best person to be asking. Okay. Before we start, is there anything? I know Marisa did send out the wee email about what you wanted to find out, but has anybody any more questions or anything else that you really want me to go through that I can try and make sure that I include as we go along? No?
I don't have anything, Vanessa. It's Susan here. I just wanted to get an overall view of the whole thing
Okay, that's fine. And I suppose I do want to make this interactive. So, and I'm kind of person, if I don't ask the question at the time, I would tend to forget. So please do just stop me and ask me, or put up a wee chat or put your hand up or something through Facebook, or not Facebook, Zoom, and then I can ask, okay, or I can answer. All right, so what I thought I'd do tonight is, most of you already will probably know what menopause and perimenopause is, but I'm just going to do a very quick run through of what it is and what actually happens in the body. Then I'm going to look at the changes, and the reason why I'm looking at the changes because indirectly nutrition plays a huge part in symptom management and possibly prevention of some of the symptoms. Okay. And then we'll look at what dietary changes or what dietary things that we might include. And then I've got a wee bit of an example diet to show you how you might put it all into perspective or into place. Okay. So let's see, it's not moving. There we go. So menopause, as we all know, it's basically when our ovaries stop producing as much estrogen and the period stops. So you're not really in menopause until you've 12 consecutive months where you've absolutely no periods. Okay. Now perimenopause is basically the months or possibly years leading up to whenever that would actually happen. Okay. And those months and those years coming up to that, we'll notice lots of different changes, and it's those changes which actually are the symptoms that we would get. Okay. Whenever our hormones decrease, estrogen is actually a really heart protective hormone. And that's why we would have much lower risk of heart disease as females. But once we hit the menopause, because our estrogen levels go down, our heart risk is the same as men. And that's why we have to be a wee bit more cautious in terms of our blood pressure and our heart health. And I will be putting that into this evening's message as well. So you can get loads of symptoms, and I'll be going through all of it. And unfortunately, every single woman will go through it. Some of us might go through it faster and easier than others, but we don't know until we get there what way it's going to affect us. Okay, so all the symptoms. So there's so many symptoms, ladies. I suppose we'll start at the top. Already, maybe if you've had children, you'll already know, or you'll be familiar with that brain fog that you'll hear lots of new mummies talking about, and that brain fog unfortunately comes back. Okay, that in itself can have a big impact in terms of your energy levels, your ability to cope. So you can't remember things. It can increase stress, which all indirectly can have an impact on weight and other health effects. Again, with that, because of maybe night sweats, the way the hormones are all changing, we might find it more difficult to sleep. So not only are you more tired because of the hormonal changes, but you actually now can't sleep to actually recover from that tiredness. So it almost nearly accelerates just that fatigue that you might be experiencing. We will already have mood changes. We know whenever as teenagers and teenage girls going through the initial change, all the mood changes that they have, we go right back to that, and we have those same mood changes again because the hormones levels are up and down. We'll have all those normal symptoms of pelvic or breast tenderness or pain. Periods obviously will become irregular. Maybe you had normal periods for a long period of time. Now they come really sore and really heavy. So everything can change. Another big thing, because all the muscles and everything's happening in the lower abdomen area, a lot of ladies will begin to have issues with urinary incontinence. And we'll be coming on to that later. But I suppose if you're in the younger age bracket, and any younger ladies that you have impact with, get them now to start doing their pelvic floor exercises. Extremely, extremely important to try and minimize that. Okay. There's all those other issues with the female health, vaginal dryness, loss of interest, all of that. Okay. Another thing that can actually happen is we actually can have more painful joints. So people, when you get all those just got aches and pains, whenever we hit our 40s, and especially when our estrogen levels start to drop, we start to get or suffer more painful joints. And that in itself can actually make us more difficult for us to want to do exercise. We've got the fatigue, we've got the tiredness, and then we've got the joint pain, and it can be really difficult to try and get to do exercise. But we're coming on to exercise later on to say why it's really important that we work through that. Skin issues, as we lose estrogen, unfortunately we lose collagen alongside it. So we tend to age faster, and that in itself can have a huge impact on the mood. So not only are you feeling tired and run down, but now we're starting to look tired and feel tired because of the aging process. Bone loss, again, estrogen, very important for, it keeps your bones healthy. So once we start going through the menopause, we actually lose calcium at a much faster rate. And I'll be looking at that. That'll be one of the things that I'll be touching on this evening, just to make sure about looking after bone health. I suppose the one thing maybe I want to say about that now is bone health is really important in terms of preventative. So between the ages of say 16 to 22, 23 is really important for bone health in our 40s and 50s. So again, any younger girls that you might have influence on is really trying to get them to, I'll be going through a few of the changes or a few of the things that we shouldn't do when we were younger, but things like yo-yo dieting, fad diets where they cut loads of stuff out, lots of really high caffeinated fizzy drinks will actually weaken the bones. Smoking will actually lower, can stop our body from absorbing or laying down calcium. So all those other health messages are really important in the 20s to prepare us for whenever we hit our 40s. Okay, and then again our hair loss. So again, lots of changes that can actually occur. And I suppose the main thing that we're really looking at is, a big thing for me anyway, would be the heart health message, looking after the heart. As I said, because the estrogen levels go down, we're much more at risk then of, well, it's not that we're much, our risk then matches that risk of a man. And again, I suppose because of the hormonal changes that we're going to see during perimenopause, we actually lay down and we will distribute our fat differently than we did whenever we were younger. So that in itself increases the risk of heart disease. I've already touched on osteoporosis and looking after our bones. And I will be looking at that in more detail now in the next slide. The one thing I haven't mentioned, which most people possibly expected me to mention, would be weight management. Weight gain is not actually a direct impact of estrogen, like losing estrogen doesn't make us gain weight. What makes us gain weight or more likely to gain weight during this period in our lives is actually a secondary effect caused by all these other symptoms. And the other thing that we have to remember as well, while all these symptoms are going on, in our 40s to 50s is usually one of the more busier times in our life, okay, where our children are at a stage where there's higher stress levels, possibly teenagers already increasing the stress levels. There's just so much, we're busier, we're doing the running here and there and everywhere, and on a busy time, we sometimes don't take time to think about ourselves or really give ourselves enough time to actually deal with these. And then when we do have time, it's a much more difficult battle to actually manage the weight. So if we can look at some of these symptoms now and try to minimize them, or even if we understand why they're happening, it can sometimes give us more encouragement or more motivation to work through and just keep going. Any questions so far, or am I going too fast or anything? All okay?
It's fine.
No, I'm fine, thanks. Yeah.
Okay, so I suppose the one thing that I really want to look at now, and even for myself, like I'm in my mid-40s, so I'm in a good place to be talking about this. I'm starting to experience it myself, but we shouldn't wait until we reach our 40s before we start making the lifestyle changes. And I've really started to notice that, like whenever I was younger, I was able to manage my weight, no problem at all, just had to go out and do a bit of extra exercise or just cut down slightly. And within a couple of days, if I had a wedding at the weekend, and then this past few years, that just has not happened. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And then I realized it's my age and all these changes are happening. So I think what it is, it's getting younger people now to establish a good routine. So if they can get into a good routine of exercise and taking time for themselves when they're younger, so it's already an established routine before they hit the 40s, and it's maybe more difficult because life's a bit busier, and it's maybe more difficult to get those routines embedded into the lifestyle. So what can we do to try and help with menopause and perimenopause? So the first thing is, and I suppose this is at the moment and also when we're younger, avoiding fad diets. Okay, so there's quite a number of issues with fad diets. So what I mean by fad diet is going on a really extreme diet which gets the weight down quite dramatically. So you've got really good dramatic results, but as soon as you stop it, the weight comes back on again. Okay, and we would call that the yo-yo dieting. And whenever you lose weight at a very dramatic rate, which is what we always want, but it's not good, because whenever you lose weight very quickly, you also lose muscle mass, and that's why you get such a dramatic weight reduction, because muscle weighs heavier than fat. So it can look absolutely fantastic on the scales, but it's not good, because in the long run, whenever we lose muscle, we actually slow down or lower our metabolism. So whenever we start eating the way we ate before, the weight goes on so much faster because we've got less muscle to burn those additional calories. Okay, so so that's one of the things I would definitely say with younger ones. Although we want the results yesterday, it's just thinking about the future. When you're younger, it can be difficult to think about the future. But the other thing that I want us to think about now at the age and stage that we are, if we continue to yo-yo diet, we're going to lose muscle mass, and from the age of 40 onwards, we actually lose muscle through the aging process much more quickly. So every decade we can lose up to 8% of our muscle mass without doing anything different. So we actually have to work harder to maintain or to gain that muscle. So any muscle that we have, we don't want to lose it. Okay. The other thing about yo-yo dieting, if we've been doing it for years, it actually decreases our confidence to actually try. So whenever we get to our 40s, maybe our 50s, and maybe for health reasons we have to lose weight for maybe particular conditions, or maybe going for surgery or whatever, our confidence can already be really low because we have had so many repeated failures because we've done so well, but then the weight's come back on, but it just hadn't been the correct way to do it initially. So sometimes the motivation to try again, it can be really difficult. So if we can not get into the habit of those yo-yo diets and just making those small changes, which are much more sustainable, it actually is better for our mental health in the long run, and it's actually better for our confidence and for our motivation to keep trying. Okay, and as I've already touched on, as we go through the hormonal change, where we distribute our fat is going to be much different to when we were younger. So what actually might have worked for us whenever we were younger, and you try to do it again, you're saying, why is it not working now? It's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just your body is responding differently because the hormones are different, and it's responding differently. So we have to think differently and treat it differently in terms of what we give our body to eat and the exercise that we do, just because of our age and the stage that we're going through. The other thing I really wanted to touch on is to keep active. Now, I have a huge issue. I don't know about you in terms of Facebook, but I have had so many things coming through my Facebook about people saying about weight loss and stop doing your plank, stop doing your exercise. I used to go, what? Have I missed it? Have I lost the plot? Have I lost or missed something that I was taught at university or something? But no, it's wrong. And a lot of those things, they may say they're doctors, but they're not medical doctors, possibly. They could be a doctor of research of their own accord. So just be really cautious to what you would maybe buy into on the internet. We really do need to keep up our exercise. Going right back to the yo-yo dieting and the muscle mass, because we will lose our muscle faster anyway because of our aging process, it's really important that we keep going. In fact, it's possibly more important that we not only keep going, but we possibly try to increase it to try and minimize and slow down that muscle loss that we're naturally going to get with every decade that we reach. Okay. The other thing that we need to remember as well is that we need to exercise to maintain and build the muscle. but muscle burns more calories. So if you're wanting to manage your weight, the more muscle that you have, the more calories you're going to burn, the higher metabolism that you're going to have. So it makes the diet easier. We also have to remember as well, we're thinking about osteoporosis. We really do need exercise to build strong bones. So there's lots of different types of exercises, but we're all part of JSF. So all the exercises that we do on a Monday morning or Wednesday evening are all weight bearing exercises, which are fantastic for building the strong bones. And that's where I would be saying we really do need to make sure we continue with the exercise and kind of forget about those other people who are just trying to sell their products and sell their program. Okay. The other thing as well, because there's so many other hormones in the body other than estrogen, and they all work together, exercise, whenever we do it, actually improves the happier hormones, which has a huge positive effect on all the other hormones. Okay, because our hormones are all kind of controlled by one gland in the back of our head called the pituitary gland. So it makes sense if you're happier and you're coping better, that brain function is actually going to work better, and it's actually going to have a more positive influence on the other hormones which are circulating around the body. Okay. The one thing I would say though, when we're trying to do exercise to lose weight, is don't stress with it. I would see this a lot of the time whenever I'm dealing with people or speaking with people, is that they're so stressed trying to get everything fitted in, that the stress of trying to get it fitted in is actually worse. It's actually that those stress hormones are actually making it more difficult to get the benefits from the exercise, the full benefits in terms of the de-stressing of it. So what I would say is try to definitely include 2 to 3 of those strength exercise every single week. But if you're struggling or you're pushing yourself really hard to do a run and run doesn't come easily, drop it back to a longer, slower, high-paced walk rather than a run. And you actually might find, because you've decreased the stress around that particular exercise, you will actually lose more weight with it. Stress hormone cortisol is a huge thing when it comes to hormone imbalance and how we cope. And that would be the one thing that I would say is don't stress about exercise. Try to keep yourself relaxed, or try and do exercise where you can come home and maybe have a nice relaxing shower or relaxing bath. So you're de-stressing after the stress of the exercise. So you're getting the most benefit from it. So that brings us on nicely. So it's decreasing the stress in all areas of our lives. Now, if I had the answer to that, I would be a very rich woman and would have my own jet to the Bahamas. But again, a bit like the stress around trying to get all the exercise fitted in, where you're keeping that cortisol hormone level high, try not to stress around food, okay? Try to enjoy your food. The questions I always get people to ask themselves is, what would I most enjoy? But try to talk yourself that the things that you most enjoy isn't going to be the chocolate bar. It's going to be, like my omelette, or just sit down and think more positively around food and try not to stress around it. If you have a particularly busy household, try to find ways that takes the stress out of preparing or planning foods. Okay. And there's lots of places now where you can actually go and buy food. Already like home cooked food, but you just go and buy it, or get family and friends to help. Or whenever you are cooking, you maybe go to the bother of cooking 2 meals in the one night. So it does you a few evenings, so you're not having to stress about it every night, but just try to take the stress out of food as much as possible. The other thing is really giving yourself that me time. The amount of people say, I don't have time, I'm doing this, this, and this for everybody else. But you need to, even if it's only 15 minutes, it doesn't need to be any more, but just 15 minutes of me time, whether it be sitting reading your favorite book, whether it be filing the nails, whether it be going for a nice gentle walk. So it doesn't have to be hard or fast, but it's your time, it's me time, it's that you're processing, you're de-stressing. So it's getting that me time, whatever it is that you enjoy, coming into the longer and hopefully better evenings. Garden is a really good de-stressor. So it's doing anything at all, but just getting yourself at least 15 minutes, if not every day, every other day, just to do something for you where you can actually de-stress. Okay. And as I said, don't overstress with exercise. Exercise is brilliant. We should do it, but don't be stressing about it. Try to enjoy it and relax it. And relax when you're doing it, even though you're working hard. And it's all those happy hormones are coming back. You can get more benefit from the exercise. And then that brings me on to the mindful eating process. I'm like a broken record, anybody who talks to me. It's mindfully eat healthily, okay? So healthy eating does include, if you want to, a wee bit of chocolate or a wee bun if you enjoy it, but it's mindfully eating it and not eating too much of it, okay? So there's no good and there's no bad food. I think we need to remember as well, as we get older, we naturally need less calories. So if I had a penny for every time somebody would say to me, but I'm not eating anything different and the weight's just going on, that is actually possibly very true, because as we get older, our metabolism and everything changes. We actually do need to eat less, but our eating habits don't decline with the slower metabolism, and that's why the weight goes on. Okay, so it's just learning to eat smaller. Okay, making sure for our bone health that we really do have our calcium rich foods, but also because of the higher risk of hypertension and heart disease, it's really then looking at the other heart health messages as well and getting those incorporated. So whenever we're eating food, we're thinking about food nearly more as a medicine rather than, oh, have to eat that, or oh, have to eat it just because of this. It's trying to eat it joyfully and mindfully in a pleasurable way rather than it being a chore. So it's trying to balance all those things together. Okay. And there's loads of research to suggest that if we have a healthy, balanced, regular intake of food, it actually reduces the symptoms of menopause. So very quick, brief review of what things we can do. And I suppose you can nearly have a topic in each one of those sections on their own, but hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight as to where I'm coming from when I'm going to be looking at the diet at the next stage. Okay, so what to eat. So the first thing is, it's really important, is regular meals. Okay, I suppose I can't stress this enough. Okay, our body works so much better. It's like a machine. It works so much better if it has a regular intake of food at roughly approximately the same time every day. So it knows when to expect food and it doesn't have to stress. Okay. There's a lot of research to show that for people who have long fasts and missed or skipped meals are actually much more likely to have more stress levels, more cortisol in their body, because that in itself, missing a meal whenever your body needs it and is expecting it, can actually cause an element of stress to your body. So your body automatically produces the stress hormone, which in itself makes us lay down fat. Okay, and makes us lay down fat and much more of the upper area, so and around the abdomen area. Okay, so having regular meals will get rid of those highs and lows. The other hormone that has a big influence in terms of our weight is insulin. Okay, so if we have regular meals, we can actually then have a more balanced level of insulin circulating throughout the body without having too little and then having too much. Okay, regular meals is actually really important as well for your muscle mass. Whenever we do exercise and say our body needs 70 grams of protein to build those muscles up, it is absolutely no use to us at one meal of the day. It needs to be split up throughout the day. Sometimes the way I would explain muscle building is like building a house. We need the carbohydrates. The carbohydrates are the fuel sources, so they're like the builders, and the protein are the bricks. Okay, so if we don't have enough carbohydrate, we're not going to build the house. Equally, if we don't have enough protein, we're not going to build. If you don't have enough bricks, you're not going to build the house. So we need it in the right balance. Okay, so by having a nice regular intake of food, we're giving our body the right amount of carbs and protein, carbs and protein, carbs and protein at each meal to build up those muscles. but also for our hair and for our skin and for our nails. Okay, it's also been well researched and well published is that regular meals, so your breakfast, lunch, dinner, can actually help control your appetite better. So it can actually, once you get into an established routine, you should be less likely to need snacks. Okay, so that brings us nicely into the other things. Whenever we don't eat regularly, whenever we skip a meal, our body needs and expects and wants and craves those calories that we've missed. So we tend to have a higher craving for higher fat, higher sugary foods, okay, which we all know they are linked to a number of health problems, whether it be type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, heart disease, stroke, lots of problems. It's not that you can't have those foods, it's just trying to cut those down and think about the other more healthier sources first, okay? And if you have your regular meals and they're balanced meals, you're less likely to want to crave those particular foods because you've given your body what it needs. Again, if we eat very high sugary confectionery foods, we're going to have a huge spike in insulin. And insulin in itself, we can't survive without it. It's an essential hormone, but too much of it at the wrong time is not good. Okay, and that in itself, if we get too much sugar in the blood, our body only needs a certain amount of it. And once we have our body stores completely filled with the glucose that has come from the sugary foods, all that extra sugar or extra glucose is taken to the liver and it's converted into fat, and it's deposited around the liver and around the pancreas, which leads to fatty liver disease, and that in turn increases your risk of developing type 2 diabetes. So that's why we want to reduce those foods in the diet and keep our hormones balanced. Okay, and I put here empty calories because they don't really give us any nutritional value. A wee bit of chocolate might give you a wee bit of calcium, but not enough, not in the right amount that you need it. So they're not really giving us anything nutritionally of value other than additional calories. Okay, the other thing then that we need to look at is reducing our caffeine. Now, there's a number of reasons why I've put this in here for hormone imbalance. Because all the hormones all work together, caffeine can actually have a big impact on our stress hormone, cortisol. Now, there's been the debate for years whether or not diet drinks are good for you or not good for you. And for a lot of people who drink diet drinks would struggle with their weight more. And this is the area of research that they're looking into. It's the effect of the hormones in the kidneys. Because your body is being overstimulated with a high level of caffeine and sweeteners, which are artificial, the body reacts differently and can actually produce more cortisol, more stress hormone. So it's an area of research that is ongoing. But what we know is, and what I've seen even myself with working with people, is if we have really high levels of caffeine, especially from fizzy drinks, you will struggle with weight loss. Okay, so it's really cutting that down. The other thing about caffeine is it's all to do with your heart health as well, because of its impact on the stress hormone. That in turn can actually have a direct impact to the heart muscle. So because it's your stress hormone is your fight or flight hormone, which has a big impact in terms of making your heart work harder and faster. And you don't want to be overworking that heart too much because of an artificial substance. Okay, so it's just trying to, so what I mean by reduce is no more than 3 caffeinated drinks per day. Okay, and we'll have to remember that if we do eat chocolate, caffeine, we have to include the chocolate that comes from, or the caffeine that comes from our chocolate as well. So it's just reducing that to 3, which isn't too bad, shouldn't be too bad. It's still, you'll still get your first coffee in the morning if you really need it. Okay, then our calcium. So I've already touched on this. Our calcium is really essential for our bone health. We lose our calcium much, much faster during menopause. And that's why I was saying when we're in our 20s, or mid to late teens to early 20s is when we really need to bank. It's like it's almost like, sometimes the way I explain it is like your pension. You're trying to bank as much calcium as possible when you're younger, because you can't actually lay down any more calcium. Your bank closes after about the age of 24. So once you eat calcium, you're trying to keep the calcium intake and usage at a balance the whole way through your life. So the more we bank when we're younger, the more we'll have to get through the menopause. But that's where yo-yo dieting is particularly sore on the bones. Whenever we yo-yo diet, we lose bone density. So it's making sure that we keep the calcium in, and we need to have at least 3 portions per day. I will explain what 3 portions are slightly later. And the other important thing is our body can find it very difficult to absorb the calcium unless we have vitamin D. Vitamin D is the one vitamin you will not get from the diet, not in enough quantity. So we either get it from the sun, from the sunlight on our skin, or in supplement. Okay, so to be honest, in Northern Ireland, because we're so high up the hemisphere, we really should be on vitamin D definitely between the months of September to May. And then if we're lucky enough to go on hot holidays or get out in the sun, you should be able to top up or keep that vitamin D level high. But it's definitely a supplement that you should take daily to help with the absorption of calcium. Okay. Vegetable protein. So I've put in, I'm sure you've heard of the plant estrogens in terms of, you've heard of soya and its impact on the menopause. There's a lot of research in there. It's not conclusive. Soya helps some females more than others. What they're saying is those who have higher levels of bacteria in their bile, the good bacteria in the bile, the soya works better. Okay, so and I'll be touching on that in a wee minute in terms of the probiotics. So plenty of your vegetable protein sources, so things like your peas, your beans, your lentils, trying to get more of those into the diet. Things like your tofu or your soya, maybe as a meal replacement every now and again, really, really important. But also the intake of our 5 a day. Really can't stress that enough in terms of filling ourselves up so we don't feel hungry and we're less likely to snack. Vegetables and salad type things are really good for that. Fiber is another really important one. Fiber can be seen, those who have more fiber in the diet seem to have less stress levels circulating in the blood. So trying to get more of the 5 a day message, and they're trying to get more salad, more vegetables into every day, at least twice a day with our meals. Okay, and really trying to build up on that. And then I suppose from our heart health then as well is reducing our saturated fat. Now what I mean by saturated fat is any fat that is solid at room temperature. So things like your butter, your lard, the animal fat, the fat you would find on your bacon or your steak. Coconut oil would actually be a saturated fat, your palm oil. So it's trying to really reduce your intake of all of those and replace them with an unsaturated fat. So your unsaturated fats are any of the fats which are liquid at room temperature. So anything like your olive oil, your rapeseed oil, your sunflower oil, and trying to use those more, but not using too much of them either if you're trying to manage your weight. Okay, fat actually is really important for our hormone production and for collagen production, so you will look healthier. So that's the other problem with lots of these fad diets. For years, people have demonized and cut out fat when fat has actually been really essential. The other thing we've got, if we even go right back to vitamin D, we actually can't absorb vitamin D unless we have enough fat in the diet. So fat is important. Choose the unsaturated fats because they have been clinically proven for years to be much more healthy for our heart, for our bowels, for everything. So it's using the unsaturated fats. It's okay to use butter. I'm not saying you can't use butter, but you use a lot less of it. And where possible, if you're cooking, you will replace the harder fats with your oils, your unsaturated fats. Okay, because they are important for your hormone production and for the hormone balance. Okay, and the fat actually, if you feel more satisfied because you've had a small amount and the right amount of fat in the diet, you're actually much less likely to crave high sugary, high fat foods later on, which reduces your need to snack. Okay. Alcohol, we all enjoy a wee tipple now and again. That is absolutely fine. What we would say is you don't de-stress with alcohol. Okay, that's not a good idea. try other ways to de-stress. It does provide empty calories. What I mean by that is calories with absolutely no nutritional value, but it's still calories all the same. Going right back to the liver, because it's additional calories that our body doesn't need, our body converts those additional calories to fat and lays it around the liver. So that's where you can get alcoholic fatty liver disease. So we really don't want, we just want moderation, enjoy it. The other thing that we've got to remember about alcohol in terms of our weight, it can actually increase your want to nibble or to eat while you're drinking the alcohol. And if you've had alcohol, the next day it can actually make you much more sluggish. So you're less likely to be active and you're more likely to binge or graze on higher fat, higher sugar foods the next day. So there's a few reasons why having too much alcohol can actually increase the weight, but it'll definitely increase the weight around the middle area where most of us ladies want to try and lose it and tone down. And again, it's just looking after the heart. So yes, you can enjoy alcohol, but just if you are overindulging, just maybe cut it back a wee bit. Okay. The next one is our correct portions. So many people, they either do one of two things, they either overeat or else they try so hard and they actually undereat by not giving their body enough. When we try to diet to lose weight, to try and correct the effect of the hormones during menopause, we actually work too hard where we actually don't get the results. So undereating is just as bad as overeating, because whenever we undereat, we're actually putting our body under more stress. We're increasing our stress hormone. Our stress hormone makes us much more likely to put the weight on. Okay, so it's all about all those hormones which all work together. So going right back to your regular eating, including your protein sources, including your salad, your vegetables, enjoying your food, having a bit of fat in there, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You will actually manage your weight much more easily and much more enjoyable, because you're actually enjoying your food and you're not cutting everything out, or not cutting out all the foods that you really enjoy. So if you do overeat, we need to cut it down, but it's making sure that you don't undereat. Okay. Again, go back to omega-3s and our heart health. Some evidence to suggest that these can actually have a direct positive impact on our stress hormones and our ability to manage our weight, which is one of the things that we want to do if we're struggling with it during the menopause period. So things like your oily fish, your mackerel, your sardines, your pilchards, your brown trout, your eel, your salmon, trying to get at least one portion of oily fish in a week if you can. All fish is good, but looking for your oily fish at least once a week. The only other kind of plant-based source of omega-3 would be your flaxseed and a small amount in your chia seeds, but they have to be converted into the correct form of oil by the human body. And some people can do that, some people can't. So you might not get the definite effect or beneficial effect from flaxseed or the chia seeds. They're still very good to have in the diet, nothing wrong with them. But if you're looking at it to reduce your cholesterol, it might just not work just as well for you as it might for somebody else. Okay. And then probiotics. What I mean by probiotics would be your natural bacteria. So you can get yogurts with the bacteria added to them, or you can buy the probiotics in capsule or tablet form. Probiotics is a massive emerging beneficial effect or beneficial food that's coming out. The bacteria in the body has so many positive impacts that they're actually talking about giving it the status of an organ. It's so important. Okay, so for years we've known that if we have more bacteria, healthy bacteria in the bowel, it actually helps female health. So it actually helps with any sort of vaginal issues, whether that be hormonal, whether that be infections, all of that. Okay, so probiotics is really important. Probiotics is also really important for your bowel health. And we know our bowel and our brain are very closely related. How we know that is if you've got an interview to go to tomorrow morning, your bowel will let you know that you're nervous. So the brain and the bowel are very closely related. So if you want to look after your mental health, you ironically have to look after your bowel. For example, the biggest cause of confusion in the elderly population is constipation. The amount of patients that we will see who are confused, we come in as dietitians, get their diet sorted out, get their constipation sorted, and their memory and their confusion subsides. Okay, so the bowel and mental health, really, really important. So that comes right back down to getting the probiotics in. So, and prebiotics. So again, your fruit and your vegetables, your high fiber carbohydrates, that's where carbohydrates are essential in the diet. You will find it really, really, really difficult to actually eat the correct amount of fiber that your body requires unless you have some form of carbohydrate, a higher fiber carbohydrate source in the diet. And then we need our vegetables as well to give us, and our fruit to give us more of. There's 2 different types of fiber, so both types of fiber. They in themselves, high fiber foods, actually encourage our body to make this healthy bacteria. That's what we call a probiotic. So eating a variety of raw and cooked vegetables is brilliant, okay, because that will really improve the bowel health. And then if you want to, if you're not big on yogurts and you want to make sure that you're getting the right amount of probiotic, you can actually take the capsule form and just take it every day, or you can take your wee yogurt drink, okay. But definitely really important for, there's so much research, it's such a huge topic, I could talk for hours on that one, but really, really important for female health as well. They actually have identified 3 or 4 strains of natural bacteria which directly improve female health in terms of ovaries and the womb and everything. So definitely one to consider if you don't already take a probiotic, definitely a good one to start. If you have any issue at all with bloating or changing between constipation and diarrhea, again, probiotics can help with that, okay. Probiotics are the type of thing that you, if you are going to take them, you do need to take them on a daily basis and let it build up for you to get the definite effects from it. Okay, so that brings us then, I've already touched on fiber. Fiber really important for bowel health, but also really important for heart health. Having more fiber in the diet has been shown to have an indirect beneficial impact on reducing your cholesterol. So if you do struggle with high cholesterol, again, higher fiber, more fruit and vegetables, and you can actually bring your cholesterol down. And again, it improves your gut function. If you have improved gut function, you actually can have improved mood, and it can actually improve all those other menopausal symptoms. Because if your gut's very sluggish, it can make you feel very sluggish and very tired, and that can actually add to that fatigue that you're already feeling. So when we start to try and add all these things together, it can really improve how we would feel going through the menopause. And then fiber actually it can't actually work without enough water or enough hydration. So it's making sure that you drink plenty throughout the day. Now, if you are going through the menopausal stage and you're having issues with bladder control, and you don't want to be getting up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet, which then has an impact on your sleep quality, try to drink most of what you need before 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So you stay hydrated, you're hydrated, and you maintain that hydration status. Okay, so it's making sure that you drink maybe first thing in the morning, drink throughout the day, and then drink with each meal. Okay, on warmer days, we drink more. On the days that you exercise, you drink more. So on a daily basis, you're probably looking for 2 litres a day. On the day that it's warm and a day that you're doing exercise, you're going to look for 3 litres. Now that can also include your tea, your coffee, the milk that you would add to your cereal. You can add all of those, but you really want to have an additional at least 2 litres of fluid going into the body on top of what you would just be having along with your tea or along with your meals. Again, I've already touched on it. Try to limit diet drinks. Don't solely rely on those, okay? Because there's of the sweeteners, which can have an indirect effect on the weight. Although there's no calories in sweeteners, they're still looking into this hormone imbalance that it can cause because of the stress hormone. And I'm not too sure if you're aware, but our kidneys produce the stress hormone. So if we're drinking these sweeteners and all this caffeine, and it's affecting our kidneys, it affects our stress hormones. There's a lot of interlinking there, so it's just cut it down. You don't have to cut them out, but just don't be relying on them as your sole source of hydration throughout the day. And remembering as well, as I've already said, estrogen, as it declines, so does collagen. And if we want to maintain and try to keep our skin and our hair and our nails and all looking lovely, hydration can boost skin health. So it's making sure that we stay hydrated, even for the aging process. So to put that, I know I'm aware I've done an awful lot of talking, so to put it all into practice, if you look at your diet, so say for example, you come off this evening and you decide to write down absolutely everything that you have eaten over the last couple of days, what you're really looking for to make sure that you're hitting everything is that what they're saying now is 5 vegetables and 2 pieces of fruit per day to get it right. Okay, so 5, whatever you choose. There's so many vegetables out there: aubergine, courgette, peppers, peas, beans, lentils, sweet corn, broccoli, carrots, parsnip, you name it, leeks. So it's trying to get at least 5 portions of vegetables per day. And then 2, now you can go for more fruit if you want to. If you are struggling with diabetes or pre-diabetes, I would definitely recommend you would limit your fruit to no more than 2 per day. Okay, just because of the natural sugars in it. So what I mean by a portion is what you can hold comfortably on your hand, or like 3 tablespoonfuls. So if you've got a tablespoonful of carrot, a tablespoonful of peas, and a tablespoonful of sweet corn, although you've got 3 vegetables, you've only got 1 portion. So I suppose the easier way to look at it is if you have your plate, half of the plate should be filled with vegetables or salad, and that's how you'll hit it on the head. You'll get it. So you really need to try and incorporate some sort of fruit or vegetable with each meal of the day, and then try to maybe have at least 1, maybe 2 snacks with fruit or vegetable to try and get that all in. Okay. We do, as I said, we do need carbohydrate. Carbohydrates are demonized lots of the time, but they are essential. Carbohydrate is the main fuel for the human body, just like a diesel car likes diesel, a petrol car likes petrol. The human body needs carbohydrate. And if we cut these out of the diet, we're not going to get the fiber that our body desperately needs. Okay. So what I would say for most ladies who are on the group call tonight, you're talking about no more, about 6 to 8, but I would try to limit, if you can, to about 6 portions per day of a whole grain variety. Again, what I mean by a portion is like 1 slice of wholemeal bread would be 1 portion. I know they all vary, but we'll not split hairs. 1 bagel is equal to 4 portions. Okay, a scone could be the equal, depending on the size of the scone. So we're all probably familiar with the linen green. Their scones are your 6 portions done and dusted in 1 sitting. Okay, so it's making sure that although you have these in your 6 portions, seems like an awful lot, but whenever you think about it and you start putting it on your plate, it's not really. Okay, so 100 grams of cooked pasta or cooked rice or cooked potatoes would be about 2 portions. Okay, so if you split that up throughout the day, you're probably going to find, 2 at breakfast, 2 at lunch, 2 at dinner, or you might go none at breakfast, or 1 at breakfast, 2 at lunch, and 3 at dinner. But that's when you're trying to choose the higher fiber variety where possible. Protein sources, we need at least 2 to 3 per day, spread out. Now, might seem low, but don't forget you will get protein from your dairy sources. Okay, so it might seem low here, but there's your dairy sources of protein there as well. So a protein source is like the palm of your hand. So like 1 fillet of chicken, 1 fillet of fish, about 3 heaped tablespoonfuls of beans, 3 heaped tablespoonfuls of mince would all be 1 portion of protein. 2 eggs is 1 portion of protein. So you're really looking at getting at least 2 portions per day. So again, definitely a protein source at lunch and a protein source at dinner. And you could, if you have time in the morning, a protein source in the morning. But what you might find is if you have your nuts and your seeds in a cereal along with your milk, there's enough protein there to keep you going until later on in the day. Because remembering as well, us ladies, we really don't need as much protein as the men. And as we get older, remember what I said, we don't need as much because we're aging, okay? But we do need to have enough. And the problem is if we eat more protein or more of anything than what our body needs, our body converts all of that to fat, okay? And then we can put down fat. So you could be eating really healthily, but just not in the right proportions for your age and stage in life, that you actually lay down more weight with them. So for ladies of our age, I actually don't recommend any protein supplements because they'll actually possibly gain more weight with you than be beneficial. Try to get the protein from the natural food sources in the diet, okay? Calcium then, and I'll show you a wee bit later on, it's very difficult to meet your calcium intake unless you have 3 portions per day. So again, the milk that you might have in your cereal, that would be 1 portion. A yogurt, like your 125 gram pot of yogurt would be a portion. 2 wee triangles of cheese, like your dairy, that would be equivalent of 1 portion, or a small matchbox of cheese, a small matchbox size of cheese would be 1 portion. So it's really trying to get 3 in every single day to meet your calcium requirements. And then any fat that you're using, try to use an unsaturated fat where possible. And this is really important, is measured when cooking. The tip of the wrist, you could have about maybe 8 to 9, maybe more teaspoonfuls of oil. Whereas if you just get the teaspoon out and pour it in, you'll get enough oil to cook your meal, but you're not getting too much of it. And that can help with weight control as well. And be very careful using any oils, whether they be, even though they're healthy oils, measure it. So say you're having an olive oil drizzled over your salad, I would recommend you get the teaspoon and you may weigh out or measure out your 1 teaspoonful and then give that salad a good toss so you're not overeating, even though they're good for us. But if you're trying to manage the weight, you're not overeating on them either. Okay. Another thing, and I suppose Henry touched on it, in terms of, I don't know if you do your own research online, there's a lot of information floating about there about magnesium. We don't need to take magnesium as an artificial form or supplement form unless you are deficient. We can get enough from the diet. And if you want to make sure that you're getting enough from the diet, just make sure you include nuts and seeds into your diet, and you'll naturally just achieve all those wee small trace elements. And if you have loads of vegetables, you're naturally gonna get those. And if you have your good protein sources, you're gonna have absolutely no issues getting all the right amount of magnesium, selenium, iron into the diet. What you could do if you want to, if you struggle with snacking and you're trying to cut down on the caffeinated drinks, herbal teas can help with that, because herbal teas are of that kind of a flavor. A biscuit maybe doesn't taste just as nice with herbal tea, so you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You can cut down the caffeine, and then you're less likely possibly to snack alongside it. Okay, so this is just a very, very small example diet, how you can fit it all in. So your muesli in the morning, what I tend to do, this is actually my diet from not yesterday, the day before. So muesli, what I do is I decant my muesli into like a Tupperware container, and I add additional nuts and seeds to it. So I can actually just get it without having to think too much about it. Same skim milk and then a small orange. Again, if you're wanting to manage your weight and not get the same sugar spike or insulin spike, but you want to get your vitamin C, if you go for the orange rather than the orange drink, okay, or the orange, it's an easy one to get your vitamin C without getting the same surge of natural sugars. Okay, mid-morning then a piece of fruit if you need to. You don't have to, but it's there if you want to have something mid-morning. Fruit is a good option. Depends how early your breakfast is. If your breakfast is at 7 and you're not getting anything to 1 o'clock, you kind of do need something just to keep you going until your lunch, or you're much more likely to overeat at lunchtime on the wrong types of foods. Again, lunchtime, always trying to make sure that you have some form of protein. Eggs is a good one for lunch. If you're even bringing a couple eggs with you, if you have a microwave at work, it's maybe not the nicest way to cook them, but you can still get your scrambled eggs if you need to. Or tin fish is another excellent source, whether it be your tin mackerel or tin tuna. bringing it along with you. Again, some sort of salad or vegetable along with it. I tend to try and get my calcium requirements up and to reduce my intake of fat from butter. I use low-fat cream cheese instead of butter for my bread. It's just one of the things that I do to try and get the calcium and just reduce the fat content, but still get enough fat in the diet. And then Greek style yogurt with grapes and again, handful of crushed down nuts or some seeds. A snack might be, if you can go for the carrot sticks, if you're cooking carrots the night before, just cut a few extra and have them sitting in the fridge as a wee crunchy, hard snack to have. Again, you could have some hummus with it if you wanted to. Just be careful not to overeat with hummus because it can be quite moreish. And it's absolutely fine. It's good, it's chickpeas, so it's full of protein. It's a good one, but just don't overeat with it. And then again, your evening meal, some sort of meat, chicken or fish of your lamb, pork, of your whatever your preference, whatever it is you like. What I would say, if you're having your meat, you would cook it with the fat, but then you would take that fat off and try to cook it in a way where you lose the fat. So whether it be grill or oven bake, and then a good half plate portion of vegetables. Okay, and then if you need to, ideally, if you can avoid snacking at night time, that is the best thing to do. But sometimes you just might need a wee snack. Okay. So whenever I put that through my nutrition analysis program, basically this is what it looks like. So I've easily exceeded my fat content. Carbohydrate is quite low. It's estimating, allows estimate if you go in any of these systems that 50% of your energy should come from carbs. I'm happy enough that was only about 42%. The fat is slightly higher, and that was a bit of, I suppose the avocado pushed it up a wee bit, but I'm not worried because overall the balance is still there. Protein, slightly low, but that was a low day. There could be other days where I might eat more protein. So over the week, it balances itself out. And you can see I haven't actually met my fiber. Again, it's really difficult to get the right amount of fiber in there if you don't have enough of your high fiber foods. So don't demonize bread just as much as maybe what the press does, because it's a good way of getting some of the fiber in. But I do understand you don't overeat on it either. But it's not a biggie, it's not a baddie as much as what it's made out to be. And I suppose just to show you, magnesium is one of the things that lots of people say that you really need, and when it comes to hormonal imbalance and stress levels, they would be really pushing magnesium. But if you look there, I've more than easily managed to have exceed my magnesium intake. Okay, so I don't need a supplement no matter how much I would want to. The one problem that you have if you start supplementing in one particular trace nutrient is that a lot of like your magnesium, your iron, your selenium, your zinc all use the same transport system in the human body. So if you accelerate one, you will start to deplete on the others. So it's unless you have a deficiency in any of those trace elements, you don't take a supplement. Okay. You try to get it from the diet, because by taking a supplement, you can actually cause an imbalance somewhere else, and it can have an indirect effect. And again, just looking at even my calcium and just touching my calcium. So if I had another cup of tea or coffee, I might have made my calcium. So it just goes to show you, you do need to try and aim for your 3 portions of dairy foods a day. If you don't like cow milk or you've got an allergy to it, try the alternatives, but just make sure they are fortified with calcium. And that is me. Hopefully that has been interesting. It's maybe been very fast, and I suppose if we're doing it face to face, I could have asked more questions, but it is more difficult with Zoom because of the time lag. But does anybody have any questions on that so far or this evening?
Yes, you mentioned that because we lose collagen, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm seeing there's a lot of pop-ups now coming up on Facebook about these collagen supplements.
Yeah, there's
Are
not
they another fad? You know, things come in and go out, because they're a fad.
To be honest, it's not well enough researched. I don't think it's something, and it's all this marine collagen, and I don't know if marine collagen is more beneficial to you than animal collagen. Honestly, don't know. it's one I can't say yes or no because the research isn't there for me to go by it. I'm sure as far as I know, it'll not do you any harm, because I know for athletes and for building up like joint health, and even for horses, like race horses, they've supplemented them with collagen for years to help with their joints with no detrimental side effects. So I can't say it doing you much harm, but I don't know if it'll do you any good either. It's one of those things, but it's another money maker, I think, as well. So it is. Plenty of smiles. Just enjoy the smile.
Could also ask, you said as we get older that we need less calories. So you always say the average for a woman's like 2,000 calories. So how much should you reduce that based on your age?
Well, I suppose going back to 2,000. So the 2,000 calories is based on the average population, but we know the average or more than average population are actually overweight. So that 2,000 is too high. Okay, so for most females, it's between 1,500 and 1,700 calories per day, and try not to exceed that. Okay, especially if you're trying to manage your weight. So it's cutting it down just about, but not too much lower. I know there's a lot of diet information out there, but going to the 1,000 calorie diet, maybe once or twice a week, but I wouldn't do it long term. Not if you're wanting to maintain your muscle mass and make sustainable changes. It's all about making the changes that you know you can make and can sustain, because you have to keep them. It's again, anybody can follow any diet, but if our weight went on the first time because of our poor eating habits, once we come off that diet and we return to that poor eating habit, the weight's going to come back on again. So if you're going to use any of those strategies to lose the weight quickly, you then need to follow on with the healthy eating message afterwards to maintain that weight loss. But it's been remembering, like, we have the scales. I've had the scales for over 10 years now. And if you lose weight dramatically, you will always lose muscle mass. And it's the one thing which actually can be a big deterrent later on in life for us ladies. Because we're going through the menopause, all these other symptoms kick in. We are going to be tired. You've got joint pains. There's all these other things that we mentioned about earlier on, and it makes exercise so much more difficult. So if you're starting off with a low muscle mass, exercise is going to be harder and feel more difficult. But it's just starting off with what you can and building yourself up. But if we can maintain that muscle when we're younger and slow down the loss, so you've got more to lose, you're going to stay stronger. It's actually better coming into the menopause to be able to actually manage the weight better. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Sorry. You talked about the perimenopause and then get into the menopause. What have you been out of it?
The menopause.
Several years.
It's just normal healthy eating. It's really looking after your heart health and your bone health. So as I said, whenever our estrogen levels come down, we're kind of nearly more similar to slightly more, but more similar to a man. So all those heart health messages are really important. So it's cutting down the saturated fat, cutting out the salt, doing more exercise, high fiber, all of those messages. Even if you can't lose the weight, forgetting about weight, think about health. And as long as you're doing what you can to help all those other things that they might be looking for or trying to prevent, that's just as important. Okay. You should be happy. Sorry, Kathy, go on ahead.
No, I'm saying thank you very much. It was very interesting.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, sure, if you have any other questions, if you ever see me, you can ask me. Yes. Sorry, Leanne.
Hi, Vanessa. I was just wondering, you see the way you mentioned the probiotics, what kind of, is that like the wee probiotic drinks or Actimel, or what are them wee drinks?
The wee Yakult, most of the research that has been done on the Yakult, because you have to have
Okay.
you have to have a certain amount in it for it to have a beneficial effect, but you do have to take it routinely to maintain that beneficial effect
Okay.
to get the build up. So it's one of those wee yogurts a day, or just buy it in the capsule form. It can be a wee bit more expensive, but if it's the one thing I would put money into, it's definitely a probiotic. There's lots of things I wouldn't necessarily put the money into, but a probiotic for definite. Even to help with the bowel, because as we get older, everything slows down, and the bowel is one of them. And I think just to look after mental health, I know it sounds silly, but look after your bowel and you'll look after your mental health. So probiotic, and there's so many beneficial effects of having higher levels of this bacteria in the bowel. In fact, lots of research has shown as well that if you've got more of this good bacteria in the bowel, it actually can help you lose weight. It reduces your risk of diabetes. It reduces your risk of heart disease. But then you could argue, is the people who have the higher levels of bacteria in the bowel naturally healthier because they're eating the healthier foods? So they're going down this route. Is it the probiotics and the prebiotics? Or is it just in general because of that person's just more health conscious? So there's so much more research gone into it, but they're definitely beneficial. They will have absolutely no harmful effects at all, none at all.
Okay, thank you.
All right, happy enough. I don't know if Jordan's still there, if he's going to say cheerio. All right, so I'll leave it there. Unless you have any other questions, thank you very much for, as I say, taking the time out in that lovely evening to sit and listen to me. It was a lot of talking. I do apologise, and I probably went over my time, but it's a big topic, and I was trying to figure out how to get it all encompassed. So hopefully I've achieved that.
That's still here, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's really good.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Absolutely brilliant. I got a lot from that as well, and definitely educated me a bit more in that area. And a lot of the stuff you said made a lot of sense. And I guess it's just important to reiterate just the core fundamentals and break them down into simpler steps for people. And it was brilliant. And thank you everybody that's tuned in and got involved in this session. Thank you.
You can be easier on us whenever we're at the gym. We're feeling
I was
tired.
going to say the same thing, Vanessa. I was going to say the same thing. Thanks very much.
Use that to our advantage, ladies. It could be a disadvantage, but we can use it to our advantage.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies. Have a great evening.
Bye. Bye.
Everybody.
Right.